years to come is that they actually gave you, I don't know if anybody's been to Mega Camp prior to, but they gave you the playbook for all of the things that they talked about. So previous years, people would say, you know, I did this for my open house, and you were kind of like feverishly writing notes, not knowing the actual plan that was in place. And they shared a Google Doc this year, which for a team leader is really helpful, but I think for you guys as agents is incredibly helpful. Is that correct?
Huge. That was huge.
Okay, awesome. So before we start with our ahas, I wanted to play a video. I'm going to have Katie play that on the screen. This is kind of the new, so John Keller is Gary's son, and he's, I feel like, the head of transformation. And this video says a lot about where our company is and where it's going. And I think it is incredibly pertinent to everyone's business as it's starting to shift. So,
I know.
roll it.
Makes me cry. I didn't tell you. Makes me cry every time.
2023, Keller Williams turns 40. Sometimes midlife crisis is a good thing. Now, we're going to run out 5 hockey sports car, rowboat, some other tool. We aren't suddenly going to grow a mustache because we've already got them. But it is time for something big. Because that's what we do. It's time to tell the world we really are. Why we were called to this. T.S. Eliot said, "We shall not cease from exploration. And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started, in no place for the first time." We started as a small real estate company with a mission to become so trusted by our clients that we've become their realtor for life.
Wendy.
But of course, Gary Keller taught us that to be realtors for life, we had to be more than realtors. We're coaches, therapists, mentors, mind readers, and magicians. We're digital hunters with human touch. Wheelers and dealers who will use our powers for good. We're advocates and shoulders to cry on, friends to lean on, and confidants to trust. Together, we are the keys and the doors to new futures. This is the most important time in our lives. As a company, simply as people. Your clients are feeling that same thing when they come to you. Their first homes, their final homes, newly married, newly divorced, empty nesters along the way. These are the most joyous, terrifying, and hopeful times of all our lives. Because your clients are jumping off the cliffs, and trusting you to build wings on the way down. We get to feel the thrill of that connection every day. If we do our jobs right. If we do our jobs right, we aren't jobs at all. It's a team calling. To build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living. To be entrepreneurs. For 40 years, we at Keller Williams have deeply believed that entrepreneurship is the miracle of America. And in America, if you can dream it, you can build it. We're privileged to be in the business of buying and selling the most important and life-changing dream. The dream of owning a home of your own. It's not just an American dream. It's a dream shared around the world. At Keller Williams, we want to continue to earn the right to be the home of the dreamers, the doers, the entrepreneurs, the hundreds of thousands of you who have dreamed and built your own business, and in the process built ours. We all know everything changes, but we will always champion you, the entrepreneurs, who are powered by purpose, by energy and passion, teamwork, trust, technology, integrity and culture, and trained in the rules of how we would do it, but who also have the confidence to bend the rules in ways Gary never dreamed of. I hoped you would. You see, we are here to teach you our past. We're to try and predict your future. We're here to help you create the future. We are reigniting a culture of celebrating entrepreneurial visionaries. Because real leaders don't create followers. We create real leaders. We are teaching rebellion, inspiring ambition. We're average world changers. Your relentless creativity, fueled by the competitive drive inside every one of you. Make the real estate model ever did was started as a little underdog company. We're going to be the largest real estate company in the world. You know what underdogs do when they get big? They look for bigger fights. Look for those fights. We want you to out Gary. Take risks. Take heart. Take action. All these things that you are for your clients, the coach, the therapist, and the key to your future, we devote ourselves to being for you. There's a reason we want your name on on signs. You look at your clients and think to yourself, it's not about me, it's about them. Well, it's not about us. It's about you. This is the most important time in our lives. You're living in a home built for entrepreneurs to thrive. And true entrepreneurs don't have to wait for doors to open. After all, we have our own business. Welcome home.
Hey, what are your thoughts about that video? Number one. Anyone want to share? I mean, when I saw it, I think it reignited a passion and a reason of like why you're at a company.
It reminds you that you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And there's lots of opportunities you can take action on. Sometimes you get complacent.
Yep.
All the angles and the ways you can.
So I think that was a huge aha, is that market's going to be shifting, right? And in any market, if you're thinking that leads are going to be coming to you and you're not an entrepreneur and you don't have to make business decisions, those are the people that are going to get left behind, right? So the timing of this seems like absolutely perfect. Any other comments on that video?
I personally, when I saw it and I keep when I watched it, rewatched it, is that we have a purpose there, and we are here for people that don't know anything. And it is our job, our responsibility, our mission to get there, be the hand of the people out there. And as Keller Williams, International is there for us, we need to be there for them, because we have a bigger purpose, and each one of us need to identify that purpose. It really touched me how this mega camp made me feel like there's more to me than just being a realtor. Like you said, it drove that passion out of you. I saw and I felt things that words could not. I'm not my sister-in-law or my wife, so I don't have good words to probably describe my feelings. So, but the only way that I could have ever felt that was by being there.
Yeah.
And it just motivates me to know that at the same time, I have a company that has this passion for us.
Well, I think the point of that is that they were putting it across, right? That if you don't have a vision, right? We all go out there and we're all selling real estate, but if you don't have a vision, no one's going to follow you and your clients aren't going to believe in what you're saying. So if you don't think that a vision is something you need in a listing presentation or a buyer presentation, you have to paint the picture for them. That's kind of what you're saying.
Right.
Keller has painted a picture for us as agents. You need to paint that same picture for your clients on what you're going to provide to them.
See, I think if she said.
I just say it. So Wendy, I'm going to start with you on some of your ahas, just like coming as an agent into that, that you got from the agent portion.
You know, we started with Gary, and I thought it was really helpful for him starting off with explaining, if you feel like this market's weird, it's weird.
Yeah.
And here's why. And saying in his 40 years, you know, where normally all the indicators would be pointing the same direction, now we're experiencing the indicators going in different directions simultaneously, and what that means.
Yeah.
And, you know, how we, how that actually increases our responsibility to be a voice of reason and good content for our clients and for people. It's part of our business.
Yeah.
Because it is really kind of a mess out there. And the way he explained it, I thought was so incredibly helpful. That
Well, it puts some context to what you're
Yes.
feeling as an agent, right? Because we all felt really busy. We all feel like we're having great businesses. And then you look at units, people are down on units. I mean, it shows kind of projected this year, we're going to be about 1 million less than we were last year. Obviously, you're feeling that across the nation as agents, right? There's more agents getting the business that you're fighting for, and there's less business that's actually turning over right now.
Right. My husband has a quote that says, "The confused mind says no." And that
Yeah.
If you can't bring clarity to somebody, there's no way they're going to say yes to you.
Yep.
Which is why when we're, you know, now engaging with our clients, if they're confused about what the market's doing, what the opportunity is for them, you know, what that pricing means to them, the answer is no.
Yep.
And where we get to have context, like you said, from what Gary shared and what we understand about our own individual markets, then we can help bring clarity and help get them to yes.
Well, and I think part of that too is there was an agent that was there. There was actually a few agents there, and they were talking about how many people here have only been in the business for less than 3 years. Okay, how about online? If you've been in the business less than 3 years, put your little digital hand up. Okay, so everyone else besides a few people have been in the business longer than 3 years. The interesting part about this is bulletproofing your transactions, right? So anyone that's been in the business less than 3 years has not done really intense, most likely, inspection negotiations or anything else that comes up in a transaction that doesn't deal with cash, a 30-day close, or really intense negotiations on the front side besides price point, right? So these agents were talking about how do you take, it's not just about doing the deal, because they're starting to see that they're falling apart in the middle. And so I know a lot of you have talked about that, like this deal fell apart and we needed to get another offer. That's mainly because we don't know how to do the negotiations portion of it, right? So this is going to be a market that skill set and sharpening that skill set is going to be incredibly important. I mean, I don't think they stressed it enough on doing your scripts, talking to people that have been through the shift before, because if you haven't, or if you haven't been in a market that's different than the last 3 years or the last 5 years, quite frankly, it's going to be different for you.
And that was another of the big points that's on my list here, ahas, was that we're moving from service-based industry to a skill-based industry. So where the last few years, we've had so much business, our time was spent primarily servicing the business, whether it was, you know, the listings and managing the multiple offers and getting it on the market and then all the rest of that, or all the buyers that we were doing multiple offers for, that was servicing the business that came to us. And now we're going to be in a skill-based market where we have to know how to hold those deals together, how to have really professional conversations. I was really impacted when Sarah Reynolds and Jeff Glover, now Sarah Reynolds runs expansion teams, they do hundreds of units and millions of dollars. And Jeff Glover, as you know, runs Glover U and does training and all that. And they're still script practicing and role playing daily, and even said hours. I'm like, hours? That sounds painful. But it made an impact on me that you don't get the skill if you don't do the work.
Well, and that's, so they showed this graph, right? So it was like sellers market here. What were we all talking about probably the last 6 months? Why, as it kept flowing and flowing, people were like, oh, I was so busy servicing my clients that I didn't get the chance to actually lead generate, right? So now you see 30, 60, 90 days later, your pipeline's really, really soft, right? It's not robust. You don't have like just deals just coming in. So as you shift back to a buyer's market, or even an equal market, right, where it's more of a like stable and balanced market, lead gen, now you're going to start doing it again. So as this is shifting, if you are not laser focused on the lead gen portion of your business and your pipeline being very, very robust, you're doing yourself a disservice as a business owner, right? Because that has to keep stable, and the servicing is going to go down in this particular portion. Not saying you're not giving them the same level of service, it's just not going to be as intense. Any questions around that?
It was shocking to me to hear how much they really do practice their scripting.
And
It's
they're
no
both-
longer, no matter how long they've been in the business, they do it every day together.
It's about systems, it's about discipline, and it's about following that every single day, right? Which brings up another aha. We talk about being a local economist or economist just in regards to the real estate market. And I don't remember if it was Gary or who it was, but if you are not sending someone before you start the day, or you're sending out information to people, or at least reading it on the market. I know when I started 12 years ago, they were like, you should read all of the things, what's the market interest rates? What's all the new listings that came on? And I did that for like the first 2 weeks. And then we're like, oh, I have all this other stuff to do, right? But it's getting back to that where there's so much on the news, there's so much in the media, that if you are not reading all of that and someone asks you about it, or you're not up to date on it, you're behind. And now you are not taken seriously as the local economist or the professional in the industry.
And to that point, they were talking about how quickly markets change, and we've experienced that with one of our listings that just, in a matter of weeks, did a really dramatic shift in one area. And if you aren't staying on top of that, you won't know it.
Nope.
And so they talked about doing a 5-5-5 CMA. This was a new thing that we took away from there, which was you do 5 closed, 5 pending, and 5 current. Because when the market is changing really fast, to only base your CMA, your pricing, on what's already closed, that's the market that was. It's not saying anything about the market you are currently in and the one that's coming. And so to be the market, expert.
And with that, with the pending ones, were they calling those? Obviously, we don't know what they're selling for, but how quickly they went pending. And you might have to do a little bit more due diligence on, hey, did it get close to asking? Did it get above? So that you can at least gauge that when going in on a listing or a buyer appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Any other,
She took.
all of your ahas?
uh,
She's got
so
like, she's got like
so
5
far,
other ones on there
So
so far.
far, but we'll see. She sat right next to me, so.
So she was stealing off of your notes then?
Oh,
Is that
no,
what was
she took the
happening?
notes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I just wrote them down so when I got here, I didn't go,
So the other interesting part is Heather had gotten this really cute t-shirt and I thought it was just really cute. But Gary mentioned that the only animal that will go into a storm is a buffalo, right? Also, it can be a bison because buffalo actually aren't in North America. It's actually bison in Montana, just in case you guys wanted to know that. But they go right into it, right? So as we're talking about, and it's not scary, right? It's changing. But if you don't go head on into a changing market, like you're just going to be running from it, right? And the other quote that he said is that, I'm going to get this wrong probably, that a shifting market the market doesn't determine your success. It determines your strategy. And when you put those two things together, right, is Are you gonna be the buffalo that goes into the storm and you're gonna shift your strategy on lead gen? You're gonna shift your strategy on, how you're running your business and how you're leading every single day as an agent, even if you don't have a team, right? How are you leading yourself every day as this is happening? Was huge for me to listen to that part of it, because I think a lot of people were successful, not necessarily due to strategy. It was because there was a lot of business to go around in these previous markets. And now you're going to see who's going to shift and who's going to really strategize and who knows their numbers, right? Because if before your conversion rate was, 10 calls, 1 appointment, and that doesn't work anymore, and you're wondering why, now you have a base point, like a basis point, right? That, okay, now I need to do 20 calls to get 1 appointment, and then your business is going to be a little bit more equal.
And the other thing that was really interesting is day one, where they brought in speakers that really had challenges that come into their lives, but that didn't stop them. And one of the points that came out of that was you can either do what's easy for you, or you can do hard. Life is not easy. Challenges come, market shifts. The last couple of years, everything has been easy because we've had a lot of explosion in the market, right? But now is your decision to either say, well, it's hard and do nothing, or do hard, do what it takes to overcome.
Yep.
And that was I've heard that in a different context before, but when someone is sitting in the hospital and her clients don't even know, never missed a beat with her clients.
So what he's talking about is there was a woman that was sitting up there. I don't even remember what it was. It was almost like a autoimmune, something happened to her where she was an athlete previously. And all of a sudden she couldn't feel limbs. I mean, there was just things that were happening. Went to the hospital and she no longer could move, could not move at all. Was told that she wasn't going to be able to walk again. Essentially her whole life changed immediately, right? And she was still doing, nobody knew she was in the hospital until she was in the ICU because she couldn't take her phone in.
Yep.
Right? So this woman is generating business, doing whatever it takes and getting people to, run to her showings, all of these other things to get her business done. But then not only that, she was up on stage and she had walked up there.
Yep.
Right? So part of that whole aha was about mindset, right? Because your mindset shifts. We all have things that happen to us and we're like, life's over, or I can't do this. I can't, this is the worst thing that's happening to me. And the moment that you can shift that to what can I do, even with the outside circumstances, to change that. And she had it in her mind, nothing was going to stop me from walking again.
Yep. Yep.
And it fits with the charge the storm.
Yeah.
Right.
So the storm shows up, your body shuts down, you have a stroke at 32 and you can't walk anymore, and they say you're never going to walk again, and you have a choice to charge the storm or to accept it and sit down.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that to Gary's point, showing up. The shift happens, markets change, your business changes, and now you have a choice to take it and sit down, or to charge a storm and go after it and decide. And to her credit, and the other guy who was up there, they both made a choice to do something better. So
Yeah.
they came through it, and
Do our
now
best.
actually they are making huge impacts in all kinds of
On
other ways
communities,
too.
not just even the
On
clients,
communities,
like,
yeah. Like she's taking in foster kids, she's a KW Kids Can instructor, she's doing all these other things and having a huge life impact. So not only did she just walk again, but she, in Charging the Storm, advanced a lot of other people too. And I think his point is, when we're in a tough situation, when we're given a market that's more difficult, you can not only succeed and walk through it, but you can take territory. You can do something different. You can make
no, I would agree with all of that.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but when Gary, every speaker, when they walked up, Gary hugged them. And the gentleman who was with that was they were
Keep
talking
Elmore
about the
stories,
hardship.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Southport Stories and landed on.
On an air conditioning. He, with his fiance, and his fiance didn't make it. When he came to hug, he only used his left arm. He didn't have control of his right arm. And he's not only a top, one of the top agents that qualifies to be on the stage. He overcome losing his love of his life and his body. We only have to overcome the market. What are our excuses? That's what I was saying to myself. I'm not saying that to you guys, but I'm saying that to me. Well, hello.
so I think that's a
Yay.
great, it's a great point, because I think a lot of people, right? You sit and you, pardon the bluntness, you sit in your crap, right? You sit in that on a daily basis. And it's like, yeah, but someone has this and someone has that. And all of the people that were up on stage as top producers in that particular panel had so many horrible things happen in their life.
Oh, yeah.
So many like debilitating things to happen. And there's a choice. There's a choice with anything. And it's a matter of, am I going to get up in the morning and am I going to lead gen? Am I going to get up in the morning and have a positive attitude? And am I going to move my business forward for myself, for my family, for my friends, for whoever it is? It's so simple. You go to these events and you need to hear the story sometimes to make it real. But it's really a matter of, what do you want? Why is that important, right? The passion and the vision. And are you going to do whatever it takes and make the choices to get there? I mean, that's kind of like, out of all of those, it's on you.
Yep.
But you have to find it in yourself. And I think that was a really, really powerful panel.
Yeah.
Hi, Rick. You want to share some of your ahas?
I don't know.
I haven't shared any of yours yet.
Zero?
I have not shared any of those ones yet. I did the buffalo one though.
It's a bison.
See?
Yeah, I think it was great, actually. I think one of the things that I learned there, when they separate everybody into panels and everybody's got different, something that they focus on. But what I did learn, which is great, is that nobody focused on all of them and was successful. Like no one on any of the panels, which I'm sure there's some crazy people out there that do that, where they're focused on, oh, I'm in a farm, and then I'm going to prospect to only my sphere of influence, and then I'm going to be a networking specialist. You know, so there's going to be, there were maybe some crazy people that do all that, but really where people found their success is that they took what, and it was part of their personality characteristic. So there's guys who are kind of nerds and they don't like to talk to people, so they are multi-millionaires as a result of running their business on an online platform. You know, so they're using technology to run their business because they don't like talking to people.
And they didn't even like talking on the panel.
They
Like
didn't
they
like it at
walked
all.
up there and you were like,
Yeah, they never
Is
looked
this-
at the camera.
Yeah.
They're just, you know, I mean, that's their personality. So what I like about that is that now what you shouldn't do. So my wife taught me how to do real estate in the beginning, right? So it was difficult and she's a tough cookie. She said to me, she said, okay, what do you do really, really well? What do you really like to do? And I'm like, I like to be in front of people talking to them. So, that's what I love to do. And she says, okay, great. That's going to be 50% of your prospecting. And she says, what do you absolutely hate to do? And it was at the time was cold calling, so it was an absolute necessity that for 2 years I cold called as 50% of my prospecting. So take 50% of what you do well and take 50% of what you don't do well, because you can grow in both. But then what happened with the panels is that they were just extraordinarily refined and very, very good at what was already part of their personality characteristic. So if you have friends and family and that's your business, then that's where all of your business should come from. That's where you should build your business.
Yes.
If you are just like Paige and everyone in the neighborhood, they always walk into the neighborhood and they're like, Paige, if you're that type of guy, I don't know that you are, but let's just say you're that type of guy, then you should focus all your business on your neighborhood.
Everybody
Build
goes
on your
outside when
neighborhood.
I show up.
Doors are closed. Shut the shades. Here you go. So I thought that was really
You
impressive.
I want to piggyback on that one. That was one of my takeaways as well. Like the lady who had moved 19 times in 23 years. So she built a
Mhm.
business around helping people. She lives in a military community where there's a lot of transition. And that's what she really built her business on, was creating systems about helping people who are coming in from out of town and creating a special Facebook page for that client. It was based on her own experience, understanding of that need, figuring out how to solve it, really caring for people. And that was, like Rick said, that was unique to her experience, and that's how she built a business. So
I would clarify that though. They still were tracking their success and they
Oh,
were
yeah.
still tracking exactly, you laugh at me.
I'm just laughing.
Because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
important to know how many contacts in whatever realm you're doing it in, so that it can be repeatable or it can be shifted.
Yep.
So no matter what they were doing, so you love Instagram, they're counting how many Instagram messages they
Yeah.
do. They're
Yeah.
seeing like contact to actual appointments.
Yeah, I will support that and add that there were a couple of people like me that were up on the panel. They were way more special, obviously, because they're up on the panel. But there are people that didn't really know their numbers, didn't care about their numbers, and so their director of operations was on the panel with them. So remember the lady who's on the operations equipment, she's looking at the director of operations. What did we do last year? So if you don't do it, find somebody that can do that part of your business, because you can't run a business without tracking what you're doing.
So that's a huge point, right? Is that someone has to be tracking. If you're like Rick, someone has to track Rick. Or I mean, your activity. But yeah, if that's not your thing, find the person that can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
which was another thing, there was a system for everything.
Yep.
Like you said, they gave us a playbook. Every person that was up there, they created a system, a method, step by step, how they do it. And they could tell you, the Instagram people could tell you the metrics of
Yep.
everything they did.
So
The people who did open houses or seminars, they could all tell you the metrics of
Yep.
exactly what they did. And it was a system, and for the most part, it was simple. They weren't super complex. These weren't things that, required a degree in rocket science.
Did you guys talk about open houses yet?
no, but so anyone that's on Zoom or in the room, I don't know if any of the other TLs are on, but if you're curious about this or what your system is for lead gen, or you're wanting to know some of these different things that we got in the Google Drive, set up a coaching appointment with your TL. And if your TLs are on and don't want that to happen, which I'm sure is not the case, but reach out to them, right? Because it's easier now to do it as the market's shifting, that they can coach you to those pieces now that we have other people's playbooks as well.
So,
You want to talk about open?
yeah, I think, obviously and everybody should know that our business, Sherry and I's business, is about 95% past client and referral intentionally. It's taken years to build that. She's at that as well. After 8 years, it took me a lot longer. But because of that, then I go to Mega Camp and I'm listening to everything and learning, because we're going to be talking to other agents and helping them build their business. But for us, it's the sphere of influence. It's what do you do with them? And how does what they teach you at Mega Camp, how is that going to advance your business? So I learned some incredible things. I mean, it's kind of like listening to Betsy Nelson say that we do 5 major events per year. And one of the things that one of the agents said there is that we do a happy hour. Well, for us, how hard would that be? Whether it be at one of the luxury homes, you do a happy hour for your past clients at Cove or at Six Smith. We know the owners of them. Everybody knows someone. You know someone, right? I graduated college with the guy at the Irish restaurant in what was that? Yeah, with Tim McCormick. I mean, we have resources. Why not get our clients all together and offer them something special like that? That was cool. Open houses. This is genius. What I'm about to present. This is not mine. It was from the panel. Absolutely genius. So I've done 5,000 open houses. I mean, I do them every single weekend for 23 years. Multiple open houses every weekend. So what can you do differently? Well, this gentleman says, well, maybe a lady, I don't remember, it doesn't matter, but they said I think it was a gentleman, he says, before the open houses, we knock, on all the neighbors' doors. Okay, yeah, got it, heard that before. Here's the kicker. They invite the neighbors 30 minutes before the open house starts. Special neighbor invitation. That to me, knowing that we do a massive amount of business on neighbors. I mean, I've got one in Winsong that I listed in an open house now. The neighbor's house is listed right now at 900 as a result of the open house that just happened. So this happens all the time. You meet the neighbors. What a great idea to get the neighbors in there when you have all their attention. You're the special realtor that knows everything about the house, sold the neighbor's house, sold the other neighbor's house. They all know each other. Now you instantaneously become that expert with the neighbors. Now I would encourage you, and I'm going to do this first this weekend, but I would encourage you to take it to the next level and just say, at the special 30-minute event, we're going to have cookies and cider. We're going to have just something for just the neighbors, right? And then once they leave, you have a standard public open house and you're hectic with a bunch of people and talking to different people, but focusing on those neighbors and saying, I'm the specialist. This is everything I know about the house. Let's learn a little bit about you guys. That's just huge. And you're already there. You're already doing it.
And
You
you
already knocked on
already
them.
have some of the knowledge from the neighborhood because it's your listing. So you get to bring
Absolutely.
all of that to them, all the stats of all the numbers of the neighborhood.
All at the same time. I mean, I think
That's
it's
a great idea.
absolutely
Great.
fantastic.
That's cool.
30 minutes before, just a special invite. Who doesn't want to feel special? No one doesn't want to feel special because everyone wants to feel special, even Derek.
Derek is special.
I'm just kidding.
All right,
That was cool.
I, shifting a little bit, and you guys can do some more ahas, but I also wanted to talk about your business. So there's a lot of like client ahas, how you can get more business. As the market was shifting, as a coach perspective, it talks about re-margining your business, right? So we have a P&L class coming up in September. And the funniest part about that, I was like, ooh, yeah, so you lean out your P&L, this, that, and the other thing. And the one comment that was said that, I don't know if at first I liked it, but it was about do not lean out your expenses before you lean out your personal expenses, right? So Gary said that, right? So you lean out your business expenses, still live life large. Now you're not getting any ROI, even if it was low, where look at your personal expenses first. What can you lean out there and still get, a return? Not saying you shouldn't lean out your business, but the personal side of that, for me, was kind of like okay. And when I coach, if any of you that have been in here, we talk about what does it cost to live? And then what is it for the lifestyle that you want? So we go through that, and there's going to be conversations on that lifestyle piece of what can be honed down in the market right now.
And he also talked about when you're looking at your expenses, don't just cut out everything, stop and look
Red
at
light,
if
green
there are
light.
some that
Yep.
are giving you a pretty good ROI that are performing for you. Don't cut those out, but make sure you're holding every dollar accountable to what the return.
It goes back to tracking, right? We all start throwing money at things. It was like Zillow back in the day, and then we start throwing money at, whatever else. If we aren't knowing what the return of that money is, shame on us for one. And right now is the time to go back and just take a look at it and be like, okay, if I was doing Facebook leads, how many did I actually turn into a closing on that or in my pipeline? And how much did that cost, right? If I'm doing open houses, how much does the open house cost? You know, what are you prepping for that? Just, it's time to kind of go back into your business and look at what's working and things that might not be working and then shift them.
So probably the most significant result of, and this isn't an aha, we talked about this quite a bit. We were texting back and forth
Yeah.
about what I'm about to present along these lines, because so much of what happened at Mega Camp was talking about, okay, here's what's going to happen. Here's what is happening. Nationwide, we're 20% down from last year, right? That's how we're going to end the year. That's nationwide. So just take that as a template, okay? 20% down. What do we need to do? Lean out our personal, lean out our business, do all of this stuff. There's all these things you need to do to prepare to be there. And more, this is the key, don't accept it. So my opinion is, do not accept the shift. Do not conform. Do not listen. Do not be part of the shift. Because we have not acknowledged the shift, acknowledge that we're 20% down nationwide, and say, I am not going to be in that category. Because the reality of the business right now is the 10% top producing agents are not shifting down at all across the country. So there is a shift. You just have to decide whether you're going to be part of it. And if you choose to not be part of it, then we as a group collectively will find the resources and the ways to do our business so that we don't shift with it. Because one thing is, the entire company, Keller Williams, now the largest company in the world, can say, we're all going to go together. Look at it. Here we are all together. And then we were going to ride the wave back up. Or we can say, here's everybody else going like this. We're not going to shift down with them. What do we have to do to not shift down with them? I think that our energy and our time and our commitment should be towards finding everything we need to do to not shift. So when we put our numbers up here, it should be very, very easy. All the Keller Williams Lake Minnetonka numbers should be 20% above everybody else, because we're all deciding that we're not going to participate in the shift. Now, if you need a break, then be one of the 90% of the agents that are going to take a little bit of a break and shift with the shift. If you don't want that and you want to just push through and be the bison, the bison doesn't go into the storm because they're crazy. The bison goes into the storm, which I'm sure you said, but it is so purposeful so they can get to the other side. They want to be out of it. Smartest animal. Like, it's brutal, but you got to be strong to go through the storm so that you're done with it. They're not going to sit there and just let it play its course. So let's not let the shift play its course. Let's get out of it. Let's get ahead of it. Let's push through it. Let's do something different.
I think number one, I feel like I want to go play like a football game right now.
I know.
Let's go.
Cheer. I know.
Number two, I mean, the things it's a choice. Don't allow that to make you change, which is going to need you to shift your strategies. And number two is, this is the time to take market share. Like, that's the piece of it, right? Like, if it's not about shifting with the market, just take the market share and stay here and grow, right? It's still there. Business is still out there. And you can come in and say, oh man, I don't know how to do this. Well, that's what we're all here for, right? Let's talk about the objection handlers. Let's talk about how you can win against another agent that's in a different company or whoever it is, right? It's all possible, but you have to make the decision not to go down with it.
I agree. And what I don't want to hear people say at this office is, I don't want to hear people say, let's say I say, Ryan, how's your business going? And Ryan responds, he says, well, it's 20% down, but that's okay because we're all 20% down. I want Ryan to say it's 20% down, not acceptable, because I'm not going to accept the shift with everybody else. So this is what I'm doing, or I'm not down at all. I mean, that's even better, because we have found a way, and there is a way, and it is everybody else in the market. We're realtors. This is independent business owners. Everybody else in the market is going to accept the shift. It's just human nature.
I think the other piece is with the shift, everyone has these these ideas, buyers and sellers, right? Common population, that, ooh, is it the right time? Is it not the right time? And I don't care what year I go to mega camp, family reunion, whatever it is, it's always the right time to buy. It depends on what your purpose is. If you're gonna buy in a market and sell 2 years later, not knowing what the market is, now that's a risk. But if you hold on to real estate long enough, it's always the right time to buy. And I mean, again, he just wrote in there, like, don't wait to buy real estate, buy real estate and wait, right? That's
Yeah,
what
sure.
people that get wealthy through real estate do. And if we as agents aren't doing that, probably a bold comment, I don't know how we are actually guiding our clients. Okay, if you're working with investors and you wouldn't buy that investment, or you wouldn't tell them the right information about that investment because you haven't experienced that, that should be your number one goal, is to, one, own real estate, and two, start investing. Because it is the best vehicle to build wealth. By far.
Yep.
And we have all of the knowledge for it.
That was another huge was how the wealth panel at the end, towards the end of mega camp, that talked about all the ways that real estate as a wealth building opportunity, what they learned, how they were using it to help their clients, how they were using it to change their lives and the opportunities that they had to give. I mean, wealth is now just a really different conversation. It isn't about just how do I become the next big millionaire. That's not it at all. They're talking about a team that has a system. They sit down with clients who've never experienced homeownership before, and they say, how about if we help you own 3 homes? Let's have a plan where in the next 5 years, you can own 2 investment properties and then your own personal property, and begin a plan of having
Keep going,
wealth
this is for something
and
else.
stability in your life. And I think that's a really different conversation than we've had before.
And we have the opportunity to provide that information. Yeah. One aha that I wanted to go through prior to, because I think this is important, right? So we're talking about the market changing and pricing, right? So we talked about the 5, 5, and 5, right? So what's sold, what's pending, and what's active. So they did this graph. Don't mind my artistic work. There's actually a graph that I'm sure someone's going to send out at some point in time, but it talks about price and condition, right? So when you're looking at this, I just talked with an agent the other day and she's like, well, she just wants to price really high. I said, okay, cool. So you're in the market right here, right? So you got great condition and price is like right on. Okay, so you're most likely going to get multiple offers, or at least you're going to sell the house, right? Here, you're in no man's land. Okay, so conditions like prices and now you're completely out of the market. You don't want to do anything to the house, and you want to price it high because that's just what the market says. Because 1, 2, 3, Main Street down the street sold for 500. That's what mine should sell for, right? So this graph, if there is nothing else that you do with your sellers or even your buyers in regards to strategy when writing a purchase agreement, you get to ask them when you go through your CMA, which one do you want to be in? Right? Because we're just a place to have knowledge for them to make a decision. We're not ever making the decision for them of what to buy a house for, what to price the house for, right? We're providing them with the knowledge and the information for them to be able to make an appropriate decision for their place and their motivation, right? So with this, so for example, this agent was like, well, she hasn't done anything with her house and she wants to price really high. I said, okay, great. You can be very non-emotional. You can bring the facts and you can say, so we're here and we're here and we're out of the market. Okay. So if we sit here out of the market for 60 days, right? And then we even maybe inch into no man's land. What do you think we're going to get for an offer? Right. So if we were at 500 here And then we go to 450 when your house is really for 400. What do you think the offer is going to be if we're on the market for 60 days? And you ask them the question, right? So then they self-discover, or we could be at, and these are exaggerated numbers, or we could be at 400, get multiple offers and get maybe we could get 425, 450 in 2 weeks. Less stress, right? And most likely you're going to get a higher price point at that time. So this, in this kind of market right now, is going to be really important for pricing. And it's a great graph. I thought when they
There was
provided
some
that,
awesome graphs and
there's some really
slides.
great graphs. Yeah.
So we'll have to make sure people get those. They were great. The
Okay,
slides.
we got
Yeah,
about
for sure.
5 minutes. What other ahas, or are there questions from the audience or from Zoom?
I think you'll send out some of the slides and marketing. If they're trying to do like a steered newsletter, I'd love to get some.
Yeah, those are good pieces.
Yep. So we'll also, I'm guessing all of our market centers, so there's all of us on here, like all 5 market centers can be on here. I am guessing that some of the team leaders are going to go over the actual individual slides of the market nationally and where it's going in regards to the trend lines in probably one of their individual team meetings. I know we will be doing that, and I'm sure most of the other market centers will be doing that too,
Yep.
and then sending those out.
Overall, big picture thing. We talked a little bit about this too. I actually talked a lot with Kevin because Kevin had been at TL and they were talking about the overall culture of Keller Williams. And one of the biggest things is this is an encouragement and a recommendation or a request, I should say, to all of the agents that are in this office is that first of all, understand and appreciate your intrinsic value as an agent. Every single one of us is very different. We bring different skill set, different mindset, different advice to the table, right? So when there's events at Keller that are being presented, consider 2 things. What can you gain from that event? What can you gain from that experience? But this is the difference. This is the Keller culture. More importantly, what can you bring to that event? Like here, what can you bring from questions and comments and things, that are going to bring value to the other people in the room? Tomorrow at the team meeting, okay, well, what is the team meeting going to bring us for value? That's one thing. I might show up because there might be some value that can come from it, but each individual agent is going to bring their own value to the team meeting to the other agents. Once we have that mindset, everything works because we're not only thinking about ourselves and what's coming to us, but we're thinking that we have value that we want to, and we're choosing to share with other people in the group, right? Yep. And so that was good we had a lot, I mean, it was the 4 of us. It was the 4 of us in a house of 16. They had their own house and Kevin and I had our own house with a pool in between. It was awesome. So we had a lot of good conversation. That's too awesome.
I think
At
the other,
times,
I think the other part of that though goes back to they separated. I mean, there's a whole, I mean, you could go through ahas for days on this,
Mhm.
but it was talking about as a business being functional with your client or experiential. And what you described as an experience, as an office and as a team of agents, right? It's not just gaining as a function of showing up to a team meeting, it's actually experiencing that team meeting.
Yep.
Because I know from being up here sometimes, I mean, it's like, I'll just sit here and wait for someone to talk because I'm like, no one wants to hear everything I have to say.
Yep.
I'm not even in the market every single day, and neither are the other team leaders or whoever is presenting, right? Plus giving feedback and being able to almost kind of, not really mastermind, but talk about the market is a positive. So
I forgot about that.
the other piece is go through your own business and think about that. Are you just checking off the box as a function to your client? Like, okay, great, inspection's done, this, that, great for a checklist for you. But is it feeling like that to the client, or are you making it an actual experience from start to finish?
That was awesome because that was, okay, there's a lot of realtors who can do very well at function. And there's a lot less realtors who can do very well at function. Great experience. Because if you don't create the great experience, then you just serve the function.
And you're not gonna get a referral, right?
Yes.
Because you serve a function like every other agent that has a license and a key to get into a door, right? So when you create the experience, that's where it just becomes referral after referral after referral.
Absolutely. Awesome.
All right, I think that's about time. Any other questions from Zoom? Otherwise, I think we're good. All right, thanks.
You-
Yay.